myself again.
Welcome, Newcastle United fans. Welcome to NUFC Matters. It's Monday, and it wouldn't quite be a Monday without the fans forum. Now, plenty to talk about. It's been a very interesting week since me and Chris were last on the show. Chris, how are you? How are things?
Do you know what, mate? I feel a bit under the weather today, but then I just remember, you know, we're the richest club in the world, so I can't be too down, mate. I really can't. I'm still constantly smiling. But yeah, other than that, mate, I'm all good. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Half term's done. Back at work today, so boring. But it would never ever be boring in the world of Newcastle United. So, look, a weekend full of interest again. The eyes of the world on Newcastle United. Went to Crystal Palace, Selhurst Park, 1-1. It's a point. Are you happy with that, Chris?
Pete, do you know what, mate? And you're probably bored of me saying it, but I always say a point away to your rivals is always a good point in my book. If you're picking up points away from home, then it's good, and especially after the performance that we saw at the weekend wasn't very good. So to come away from Palace with a point when we probably didn't deserve one, I'd take that all day long. Absolutely all day long. I mean, what I saw, you posted some videos of the fans, before the match and during the match. What was the atmosphere like, Pete? Was it a good one?
Mate, it was, the fans were unreal. They were unreal. Travelled down on my own, on my lonesome. But you know what? As soon as you get in and around that stadium, I came out of the Selhurst Park train station, and a sea of Crystal Palace around you, but then all you hear is the Newcastle fans going up. It was, we're Newcastle and we're going to buy the league. We're going to buy the league. And I looked around and I had the biggest grin on my face. Everyone knew I was a Newcastle fan in and around the Palace fans. And you just hear this sea of black and white just coming from behind and taking over. And you know what? It just gets you bang up for it. And you know what? It was amazing. It was great to bump into Chris A outside the ground. First time I got to meet him face to face. So it was a pleasure. Got into the ground, and honestly, it was like party time. Win, lose or draw. I remember messaging you guys and saying, "Look, win, lose or draw, it's just going to be party time," and it was. Nobody was queuing for the bar, which is normally the hardest thing that you can do, is get to the bar and get a pint. Nobody was at the bar. Everyone was jumping up and down. Saudi flags, Newcastle flags, people on top of each other's shoulders, singing, dancing. It was a proper party atmosphere. And then they just took that into the stadium. And Crystal Palace play a few tracks before the game to get their fans up for it. Their fans weren't reacting to none of it, whereas us, we were just dancing. It was like we were in a club. Everyone was just going absolutely mental. It was one of the best away atmospheres I've been to for a long while. Everyone was in party atmosphere. It's just a shame that the performances didn't quite match up to the away fans. But look, we've just said it. We are stacked in the green room. There were so many guys that want to talk to us. We're going to start with a fan's favourite and a regular in Mr. Alan Thompson. How are you?
Not too bad, lads. Not too bad. Just to go on to what you were talking about the match, lads. I felt a bit deflated in a way that we're playing the same way, but unfortunately we've got the same players till January. So in that sense, I don't think many can really expect much change until a new manager comes in. We've got to remember Jones has been in the backroom staff before, behind Bruce. So I suppose another week's training. Hopefully they'll be in training for 5 days, lads, and not 3 days off. I hope that's one point that's changed overnight.
Yeah.
Basically, about the banner, lads, we're going to get this all the time now. I think the fans have got to chill. And I don't want it to become a political show, but I think a lot of people around the country and around this country have got to remember our human rights record is not great. And you could go on and on and on. So I just leave it at that, as it'll be a political show, lads, not a football show. The manager, I hope he's in place before the international break. I mean, let's face it. I mean, I saw a lot of Everton podcasts, Chris, where you live, and they wanted Benitez gone. Benitez gone, and I thought we'll have him. But he won't break the contract, lads. He won't do that. So we've just got to move on. It's history now. I'm not sure about Conte, mind. I just don't think he'll entertain us. I think he's lined up for the Man United job, to be honest. Even though I've been plugging Steve Bruce for it on all the podcasts, Man United, what a wonderful job he did for us. I've been really letting it rip there because all the pundits said he'd done such a wonderful job. So he deserves to be Man United manager. But to be honest, transfers, I would love Conor Cody actually. That's one because he likes the club and he liked it before the takeover, and he said St James's Park was one of his favourite grounds. So getting a person there that actually likes the place, you know, all our biggest fears is a lot of players will come just for the money because the agents will be pushing them. It was a good point, like I say, Pete, about ACM. Like I say, I remember seeing a podcast yesterday, Pete, where you put your point of view, and it was a great point because we had for the younger viewers, we had a player called Ginola who was exactly the same, who wouldn't track back, and eventually we did get rid of him to Tottenham because he thought obviously it was a more ambitious club or he was more into a team where he could do his own thing. And you've got to have 11 players basically fighting for each other, you know. And it'll be interesting to see how they, you know, work on Saturday. So Chelsea's going to be a hell of a test, but every game now is going to be a fight, real fight for every point. And we shouldn't just dismiss it and go, oh, we'll get beat off Chelsea. We've got to get going in every game. So basically, I'll leave it for that for now. But to be honest with you, the banner situation, we're going to get that week in, week out, and we've got to accept it in the sense that this is how people are, and it's just pure jealousy. Because, like you said, Chris, Pete, we are the richest club in the world, and I've never stopped smiling ever since. So I'll leave it for now, lads. I know you've got a lot of people in the studio wanting to get on, and a lot of people will have different points of view. But thanks for having us on, and hopefully next week we'll be celebrating my first win. It's got to come shortly, lads. It's got to come shortly.
It has, and you know what, Alan, as always, you made some fantastic points about a number of issues. Chris, the banners, the result on Saturday, the talk about ASM, the talk about the manager currently. What are your thoughts on what Alan said? He's made some good points again.
Yeah, as always. I had a couple of points to make on what Alan said. So the Rafa Benitez thing, completely agree, Alan. As you know, I've got a lot of blue mates, and they're already losing the patience with him, which we all predicted would happen. You know, Rafa would need time, he'd need patience, and unfortunately he's not going to get that at Everton. He just won't get it because there are some fans who just will never accept him. Even if Everton got into the top four, they still wouldn't accept him because that, you know, obviously they feel very passionately about it because of his history with Liverpool. And to a degree, you can understand it. It's a bit, I suppose, in a way, a little bit like us with Bruce. There'll be some Newcastle fans who would never accept Bruce because he was the Sunderland manager, and they just won't accept it. So I do feel for Rafa, but then on the other hand, I thought it was a strange move. I do understand his family are from Merseyside. They still live there in the Wirral. So in terms of his family, I could understand why he took the move. But then from the footballing side, I was looking at it and thinking, you're onto a loser. You really are, because you know, if he gets sacked from Everton, where does he go from there? Where does he go? Because obviously he had that stint in China. I thought his next move would be a big one. And I do think to myself, you know, if he'd gone for like a Wolves or a Newcastle or even a Tottenham, he may have had a bit more joy there. But with Everton, I just feel like he's onto a loser. It's going to be really difficult for him. But that is the decision he made. In terms of ASM, Alan, I haven't listened to Pete's podcast on True Faith. No, I will give it a listen.
He's going to get a new manager, and I do believe Bruce let him do what he wanted.
Yeah, I know.
He could have the freedom of the park. You play middle, you play on the left wing, you play on the right wing. A new manager will probably never allow him to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of flair players fall out and people go, why are they moving from different clubs? It's because they're not allowed to do what had to been done on their previous manager. His history shows that the two clubs he's been to in the past, he's more older now. Maybe he's calmed down a little bit. But Nice and Vieira both said, they had problems with him. In the tactical system that a top class manager will have, like a Benitez. I do think, like I say, you're spot on, Chris, with Benitez, because he was just getting it right with Perez, Rondon, and Almiron, them three, and it took him 2 years. But the players weren't as good as what we've got now. And if Benitez had been here now, I think we would be on a winner, because my thinking that he might come, and the only straw is he knows that we could possibly, and I'm dreaming we could possibly win the league. I just don't think Everton will win the league, Chris. I think these have got the power to, like Chris said, or Pete said at the match, we could buy the league. I really do, because we'll give it time. And like I say, I pray we don't get relegated, because it is going to be a massive fight to the finish, lads. Make no mistake about it. It'll be a massive, to stay up this year, it'll be achievement from what's been happening. Because the players that are there now are all thinking, well, I'm going to be out. It's whether they want to stay here that worries me. And a lot of them will be thinking, well, I won't be here next year. And that's what you've got to worry about. And a lot of them are on long contracts. And how are we going to get rid of these players? Like Joe Linton. I've offered Steve Bruce and Joe Linton to the Man United fans to go there. They can have them both free of charge. Obviously, Joe Linton's under contract, but I'm sure, when Steve Bruce gets his feet under the table, he'll buy him off for 50 million. He'll be a steal, So I'm hoping that'll happen.
Alan, I just want to add in here. I've got a comment here from David Shepherd. I think it's a really interesting one, and I wanted to expand on it as well. So David Shepherd said, "Sorry, fellas, but that comment about Ginola was poor man's. What a wonderful talent, proper player. Surely you can't agree with Alan on that." And this is where it splits fans. Yeah, this is where it splits fans, because you'll have some managers who will accept that 1, 2, maybe 3 tops players will, you just kind of let them get on with what they're doing, because going forward, they're absolutely fantastic. And as long as they're producing, and as long as they're scoring the goals or creating the goals, then as a manager, you can kind of accept that. It's when you've got these fair players who don't give you any end product. And that's the problem, because if they're producing the numbers, the player can turn around and say, well, listen, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Right. It's a bit like when we had Hatem Ben Arfa. I absolutely adored Hatem Ben Arfa, but I acknowledge that defensively he was very poor. He didn't do anything like that.
One player, Chris, that keeps getting mentioned, who was far better than both of them in my eyes, Laurent Robert. His assist goals far outweigh Ginola's.
Yeah,
I know,
and that's why Bobson put up with him, Alan. That's why Bobson put up with him, because he was producing at the other end of the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, Ginola scored 7 goals in total for it. Laurent Robert scored 20, 25, 30, and his assists were far greater than Ginola. Yet, for flair, Ginola was just as good, to be honest, but he wouldn't track back. He just simply wouldn't track back. And if I was at Anfield that night, David, and I'll tell you one thing, John Burford was going absolutely ballistic, and he blamed him for the defeat afterwards. And the week after, we played Aston Villa, and he complained, and Keegan threw him off the pitch, John Burford, after half an hour, because he was complaining about Ginola not tracking back. And exactly, we might have this problem with ACM in the future, lads.
The one thing I'll say about Keegan is he was sort of revolutionary, particularly in the Premier League, having a winger like that Wingers were very much like direct down the wing, get the ball into the box, but also were getting back in defending. He was revolutionary because he had a winger that wasn't like that, and he managed to bring him into a tactic that worked. It was only really at the business end of things, when we were looking to win the title against the best of teams, is where in that particular game he fell short. But I agree with you. For me, Laurent Robert was a supremely.
He gets overlooked, Pete.
He does because David Ginola was more box office. He was like a model. He was the standout. He was the celebrity.
His wife would have married him tomorrow.
Yeah, of course, anyone's would have. But Laurent Robert wasn't necessarily like that, but still very technically gifted. I'm going to have to stop there just because we've got so many waiting in the.
No problem, Pete. Thank you for having us on.
As always, absolute pleasure, and you definitely deserve one of these.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure, Alan. You take care. Speak to you soon.
Will do.
Always. Hey, I had a quick question for you, mate.
Oh, yeah,
go on. Just before I forget. Obviously we were talking about the banners and stuff like that at the match. Yeah. What did you see any outfits, any Saudi outfits? Now I know obviously they got banned, didn't they? Or the club asked, for fans not to wear any replica outfits. But just out of interest, did you see any in the way end? Or was that a stupid question?
I was stood just behind one.
I thought you were going to say I had one on.
Yeah, no. There were probably, I think there was about 2 or 3 that I saw in the away end, and I was where I stood. Was right in front. It was to the left of me, and they were on TV. It was on TV quite a bit. There was a woman holding up the Saudi flag, and then to the right of her, there was a lad wearing the Saudi outfit, and then I was stood pretty much either a row or 2 behind him directly. But yeah, there was a few still there. I mean, obviously the statement came out, during that day anyway about, the club's opinion on that, and they've sort of relaxed it as long as it's done sort of appropriately. So, yeah, not that they would have seen that, but I think there were some Newcastle fans that didn't care, and they were just, like I say, it was a very much a party atmosphere. So that's the way it was. But
Pete, sorry, I've got one more question for you, and again, somebody's just brought it up then, and I was dying to ask you this. So 8 Lace 2000 Abel. Conor Gallagher was awesome on Saturday, still young and hungry, fought for everything. I'd take him plus 10 more like him. Now, I'm glad he said that, because when I was watching the match, the one player who stood out an absolute mile was Conor Gallagher, and I just wondered what it was like to watch him live, because did he look as all action as what I saw on the telly? Was that portrayed in the ground as well? And
more. He was better. It was a pleasure to watch him play, and I think you switch him for Hayden or Longstaff, and we could potentially have won that game. That's the difference for me. Wow. He was such a difference to them in midfield. He was the only difference to them in midfield, because he was one of their better players. Him and Benteke had fantastic games, and Elise.
Elise looked really good. I hadn't seen him before. People, I know you mentioned them.
I talked about him before, and I made a point of watching Elise, and he was better than I thought he was. On Saturday, he was very, very good. But so was Conor Gallagher. All action. Didn't let our midfield 3 rest whatsoever. He was at them. He was actioned at them. On the ball, he was very, very good. Kept things ticking over, but liked to drive things forward. Not bad with set pieces either. Took a few corners. And he's really developed his game for a lad that's so young. And talking to a few Palace fans before the game and after, they want him big time. They want it. They want to keep him. They've already D on the loaded away day said that they want him to stay. They see him as one of the best players in the team, a leader already in that team for as young a lad as he is, and I think he'll only get better.
He's hungry, and he's hungry, and you can see it. Yeah, I thought he was outstanding, and that Elise, I did a little bit of research on him. So he's only 19, and they got him from Reading. And for someone of 19, he just looked comfortable, didn't he? He had Matt Ritchie in his pocket at times. I just thought he looks a real prospect.
He won't be there long. No. He won't be there long. It won't be long before. And you know what I like about him is he does everything so casually. in the way he plays. He's just such a casual player. If you got another 10 or 15% out of him, he could be a talented player at the top end of the Premier League. He's got great technique, very, very good player. I would swap him for Matt Ritchie, Ryan Fraser. I'd swap him for a number of players right now in the way he's playing. He was that good. But look, we've got a number of people waiting. We are. Very, very busy one tonight. We've got a new guest, and I'm really pleased to have him on. He's been desperate to come on. Welcome, Alan from Malta.
Hi, guys. All right. I've been waiting 2 years to get on, and could you believe it? The very 2 years I've been waiting, they've got a bloody alarm check going on in the building here. So if it goes off, you've got my permission just to cut me and let me go, because it's getting ridiculous. But anyways, nice to be on. I've been waiting 2 years. I've lived over here 26 years now in Malta. I've got a gym over here. I own a gym, so that's why I can't come on and talk. So I'm usually busy, but I got a cancellation tonight because unusually it's raining in Malta today, so we had a cancellation. They always cancel when it rains. It's unbelievable. Anyways, my point is, I want to be fairly quick because I know you got people waiting. I don't want to bore people. Like I said beforehand, and I think you pinched my lane a bit, Chris. I think I don't know whether you were getting mixed up or what, like, but
sorry,
no, it's all right, mate. I'll forgive you this time. My point was about Rafa. If I was Amanda Staveley tonight, I would pick up that phone and speak to Rafa Benitez. And let me just say this straight away. I'm not Rafa's greatest fan. I think he did a lot of things were brilliant. It was an honour to have him in our club. The fact that he was in charge of us, you could see a vision. Wasn't particularly keen on his some of his the performances, the teams he picked. I didn't always agree with that, so I'm not a total Rafa fan. But I think at this moment in time, he's exactly what we need to stabilise the club and move us to the next level. And if I was Amanda Staveley tonight, I'd pick up that phone, like you were saying, I would say, listen, this is your opportunity. Those Evertonians are never going to accept Rafa. Never in a million years. It's already been shown. The banners before, even the comments at the weekend, he loses 2 games, he's on his bike, basically. Now, where's he going to go, like you were saying before? Where's he going to go after this? There's nowhere to go. He's going to take a drop. He's been offered, Amanda Staveley can offer him, a tremendous wage, the chance to step back into something he knows, in which he can develop and move us, as I say, to the next level, and to get the things like the training ground and the academy and all that going again. Probably work with the players he's got and get rid of the dregs. And let's be honest about it. I mean, who honestly thinks there's going to be more than maybe 2 or 3 players left in 2 years' time? That team was so on Saturday. I mean, it's pretty abysmal. Now, I've never, I'm one of these people that I've said to you beforehand, I'll hang my hat on any manager that comes in. And if it's, Fonseca or Eddie Howe, fine. I'm not going to argue with that. I'll back him and see how he goes. Give him a chance, like I did with Bruce. But for me, there's 2 managers stand out. One, a lot of you will agree with, Benitez. And the other one I've been saying right from the start, who would be my choice, but it wouldn't be a lot of people's choices, would be Arsene Wenger. I would bring Arsene Wenger back out of retirement and say, listen, put us on the right track. Spend 2 years getting this academy sorted, get the youngsters playing, get them playing decent football, get rid of all the stuff that Bruce brought and even before that. And let's put us on the right track, and then maybe a second manager can come in who is going to win us something, because obviously Wenger's getting old now. I didn't like the idea of Hodgson. I thought Hodgson, I've got my doubts about Hodgson. But to me, Wenger would be my first choice, but let's be honest, the romance of our club, we know it. If Benitez walked back in that field tomorrow, even though there's those who don't particularly like him or maybe wouldn't want him back, let's be honest, there'd be an incredible atmosphere at St James's if Rafa walked back in that field. I was there for the Chelsea game. I try to get back 2 or 3 times a year. When we beat Chelsea at the end of the season, Tottenham at the end of the season, and we were calling for him for the whole 90 minutes. You don't get atmospheres like that anywhere else. And he knows that. He knows he's never going to get that with those blue noses down in your neck of the woods. So let's get on the phone to him tonight, Amanda. I say, listen, one last chance. We've got Fonseca sitting in the waiting room here. Do you want the job? Are you willing to, cancel your contract, drop your morals, drop your ideas, give it one last chance, and we'll bring you back tomorrow? Because we know that's who they wanted. So that's what I wanted to say, basically. And another thing, just last before I leave, because I'm going to shoot. The thing you've got to think about as well is not just to stabilise the club. You're picking a manager to get us out of this nonsense we're in at the moment. Because let's be honest, for me, we're going down. With this team at the moment, we're going down. I know there's an argument against it, but for me, we're going down with this team. But also, in January, we're going to give 200 million to a manager to spend. Now, the question marks on how and Lampard and Gerrard is, could you spend that money wisely? Have you got the experience to spend £200 million? Do you know the leagues like the likes of Benitez and Wenger? So that's my argument.
Fantastic.
And I'm racing through it because the alarm, it hasn't gone off. Unbelievable. I thought somebody jinxed us, some Mackham had broken in or something. But anyways, guys, I just want to say, I'm going to have to leave you. That's all I want to say. Thanks for having us on, and I'd love to get back on again. But as I say, I watch all your shows, brilliant shows, and I love some of your viewers. There's some real characters there. If you notice, I made sure there's plenty of light tonight. I don't know who your character is, but I made sure I put the lights on, But all right, so have a good night. But let's discuss that, and I'll listen to you probably tomorrow morning now because I've got a client now. But it's been great talking to you both.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Later. Amazing.
Legends. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. First time on. Waited 2 years to come onto the show. Absolutely, it is like a tornado. He's come in and he's just tore the place apart, but actually made some amazing points. Right, Chris, let's get into this. Rafa Benitez, Alan said, look, Amanda needs to get on the phone and call him and say, right, this is your opportunity to come to a club that you loved, that you've got a project that you can develop and build the club how you want it. What happens next? What are your opinions on that?
Do you know what? I absolutely agree with what Alan said. I mean, my biggest concern, Pete, and Alan feels exactly the same way, is for me, it's about bringing in a manager who, one, can stabilise the club, and two, has Premier League experience, and three, who can sort things out. Now, Rafa ticks all of those boxes, doesn't he? Rafa, knows the club. He knows the players, or the majority of the players, and he's also got that experience, hasn't he? So I wouldn't, like Alan said, I'm not 100% on the Rafa train. Even when he was first linked with the move back, I wasn't 100%. Like when the takeover first got, there was talk of the takeover first going through. I was one of the people who was like, I'd quite like Poch, but at the same time, it would be great if we got him back, wouldn't it? It'd be a great story. The fans would all get behind him, and like I say, for that security of having a manager in who knows what needs doing, and as Alan rightly points out, he's got that fantastic knowledge of the game and knowledge of the players. Like he's got his own like transfer thing, hasn't he? Where he's got like trying to think of the word. He's got like an account of all the players, so he scouts a lot of players, and he's got a team working for him who check all different players, the stats, the figures, the numbers. So to have someone of his ability to be able to bring in, he probably already knows what players he would bring in. He's not even in the chair yet, and to have that would be great. That is my only concern with Wenger, in that Wenger's not used to challenging near the bottom of the table. He's got that experience. He's got the Premier League know-how, but it's getting involved in that, that relegation dogfight, if you like. And obviously all the players are going to be brand new to him. And this is the risk you have with bringing in a brand new manager, isn't it? Like Fonseca, he's got no Premier League experience. So it's really interesting, but I thought Alan's points were absolutely fantastic. And, I hope he comes back on, Pete.
Definitely. I'm sure we'll get him back on at some point. I know we obviously work commitments are an issue, but you're right in what you said. Arsene Wenger all of his experience is at the other end of the table over the course of the years.
Yeah.
It's at the top end of the table. However, before Rafa came to us, he had the same issue. But look what he did with you. So there's an opportunity to look at Arsene Wenger with a fresh pair of eyes and say, look, if you're still committed to managing a football team and you're committed to taking us out of this dogfight and moving us on even for a couple of years, then there's an option there, an opportunity there for taking us forward. Look, my Rafa boat had sailed the minute that he took the Everton job. I didn't see there was a way back. But there is an opportunity. There's a short window here for Amanda Staveley, especially after Saturday, to say, look, you are going to miss the opportunity of your career to not take this job. Like, if you don't take this job at Newcastle United, regardless of what you've got at Everton, you have got an opportunity of your career you're effectively walking away from that. To have a club that loves you so much, to have an ownership that wanted only you to take on the manager's job when they took over the club, to be able to use your scouting network, which you've already mentioned, Chris, is one of the best in the managerial circle and has been for many a year. And to have a manager that knows how to keep a team in the league, but also take a team into Europe and take a team into the Champions League and win a trophy. He has the lot. He really does. And you could bring him in any situation right now, and you could give him 3 or 4 years and say, right, go and build Newcastle United. And after 3 or 4 years, we could move him on and go for somebody else to take us to the next step if he didn't already get us there.
Yeah, sorry, Pete, just to interrupt you. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, that was my issue back when, we were linked with Poch and Rafa. My ideal would have been bring Rafa in for 2 or 3 years, build the club, build the infrastructure. He's got a vision, get him in. And then in 2 or 3 years' time, that's when you go for your big hitter. But do you think, Pete, that, people say Rafa doesn't walk away from contracts and Rafa won't leave Everton? Do you think we've got an advantage in that it's a hell of a lot different, isn't it, from Rafa turning up at Everton and saying, listen, handing the notice in and saying, listen, I want to go, rather than Staveley and, Piff and coming in for him and saying, no, we're going to buy his contract out. We want him. Do you think that makes a difference in that? It's not him walking away. We're not saying I'm assuming we're not going to be saying to him, hand in your resignation and join us. It would be a case of we're buying him out of his contract because we want him that much. And I think some people may disagree, but I think that the Everton ownership would see that as a bit of a get out clause because the decision's being taken out of their hands.
I think if Amanda Staveley was to go to Everton and say, right, we want to buy Rafa Benitez out of his contract, I think Everton would seriously consider that. Now, we have to go back to the point that Rafa Benitez was about to accept the Everton manager's job and the fallout that was from that. Not just with the fans, but in the boardroom as well. There was a lot of talks that in the boardroom, it was split about who wanted Rafa Benitez and who didn't. It was split right down the middle. Now, I imagine that split is still there. So Bill Kenwright, for example, wasn't a particular fan of Rafa Benitez coming to the club. No. And I don't believe that he still is. Now, if you went,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And if you were Amanda Staveley and you go, right, we want to buy him out of his contract, which I believe to be a lot of money. I think it's around 25 million. So it's not cheap. But if we were going to go in and go, right, we want to buy him out of his contract, I think Everton would seriously consider it. I think Rafa Benitez would accept it. If Everton were willing to let him go, I believe he would go.
It's a different conversation, isn't it, Pete? Different conversation. If Everton say it's 25 million to buy a contract out, Newcastle have bid 15 million and we're willing to let you go, I think he'd go, great, okay.
Yeah. And I think I think there would be a deal to be done there. The only thing I would question is whether Amanda Staveley and the consortium would do that, because they're already in hot water with the rest of the Premier League already, with the sponsorships and all the rest of it, and they're not being happy, and they want to try and build bridges. Them going in and slapping their Saudi Arabian money down and saying we want to buy Rafa out in the contract is probably not the way to go. And that would be my only concern with that. However, do we care as a fan base? No. Should they care as an ownership? No. So therefore, there's an opportunity to get that done. But like I say, it is a small window. Rafa Benitez could go on a run of 2 or 3 games winning and propel Everton back up the table, and then all that outcry and those negative roars disappear. So there's a window now for it to be done. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. But do I hold any hope with that? Probably not. But it is a pipe dream that is possible if things fall into place and if they worked on it in the right way. But
would Rafa work under the director of football as well? I don't know. Has he worked under? I think he's worked under the director of football at Liverpool, hasn't he, and Valencia?
Quite possibly at Liverpool. I'm not sure about Valencia, but I don't see that being a problem. I think if Rafa Benitez put his scouting network out there with the director of football, I don't think their choices of players would be too different, if I'm honest. I think, providing it was the right director of football, you've got Jan in the chat saying, Luis Campos, who's a fantastic director of football, sporting director, who would be an absolute asset to the club, would be a good fit. And I think they would get on, and I think they've got the same mentality of the type of player they'd like to bring to the club if they were both employed. So I don't see it being a problem. I think the biggest thing now is what Amanda Staveley kind of does next, really. But I am wary. We've got a number of people still waiting. I think we're going to be in for a few jokes here. We're going to bring him in. Welcome in. Come on, Jeff. Talk to us.
Hello, Jeff.
How are you?
I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be here. It's just tremendous. Just to be on the air with you guys. It's just too much. Somebody's missing. I wrote down a list of things I wanted to have a rant about. I even got a hat on, specially, sort of rant hat. Just culturally appropriate, but I can't be bothered. It's got John Blade's name in it. No relation, I'm sure. Right. First thing I want to say is anybody who starts a sentence with Newcastle fans, first up against the wall come the revolution. Okay, right. We will define who Newcastle fans are and what we think, if you know what I mean. I'm just sick of pundits saying, well, Newcastle fans and the patronising gold bog aristocracy from Man United. I've watched them. It's been so awful. People like Lee and Chris being humiliated. It's going to take time. He's not going to have overnight success. You've got to be patient. What sort of morons do you think we are? Maybe they should go away and be very careful to take the wrappers off your sweets because they're a choking hazard. Right. Let's get that out of the way, but I'm just so sick of it, really. Obviously, manager topic. I don't really want another shambling person in a tracksuit, really. We want something elegant to grace the touchline. And of course, Rafa, wheels coming off. Oh, God, it's getting worse again. What? You couldn't have made it up, could you? I did like Fonseca. Looks good in a hat. Always a good point. Right. And about the last game, I think that really showed up where we were or where we are, footballing wise. We need a new spine. The shortcomings Lascelles doing his sort of bird of prey impression, pretend to be a falcon, bring it down their midfielder. Willock and Almiron look like lost children coming on. Didn't quite know what to do. Apart from our wonder kid Wilson, it was same old again. And was Fraser playing? I missed the beginning of the match, and I was thinking. I got to the end of the game and thought Fraser must have been on. There was a man missing somewhere. And you had it all up. And final point, well done, Joe Linton, putting a target on his head. I thought that was a really smart move, so they can see him. I was saying too much uniformity. They all have to wear the same clothes, so let's get a nice target on his head. Much easier to find further upfield for that sort of style of football. What else can I say? Harry Kane sounds good. Harry Kane. Aye. You get Albert on Turtle Sports saying, "Whoa, Harry's done well, like." Aye, well, fancy Harry. So that's another one we should be looking out for because we can afford it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. Definitely. Great points. Chris, Willock, Almiron, Fraser, what are your opinions on that? Do you agree with Jeff with regards to their performances on Saturday?
Yeah, do you know what? I was a bit disappointed that Willock and Almiron weren't playing. But I agree when they came on, there wasn't really. I mean, to be fair, I thought Miggy tried his best.
Yeah.
I did agree though, Jeff. You know, Fraser didn't do himself any favors at the weekend. Definitely.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? He got the opportunity to impress everybody.
Yeah.
I thought the original lineup. I thought, what do we got here? It's like watching Rafa game. You know, where you go, what on earth's going on? What an odd formation. But maybe he's putting a right footer against a left footer. He's doing something clever. No.
Yeah.
But it worked. It did work. You have to say we got a point, and I'm with everybody else, a point away from home.
Do you know what, Jeff? Yeah, I think you're right, and I was going to bring this up, and I'll see your opinion on it. Obviously, we've got a point away from home, which again for me is never a bad thing. But I don't know about you, but did you feel that even though it wasn't very good at times, which we're quite used to as Newcastle fans, did you feel like there was more of a plan? Maybe that's because I just had my Bruce glasses on. I don't know.
No, I saw more of a plan, not a big plan. And I would like to say I think Alain Saint-Maximag is tracking back a lot more than people were making out. When he first appeared, I thought he's going to be slightly more falling over, lying on the ground, spending half his time on his backside, complaining about everything. But he's pulled himself together. He doesn't do that as much. He doesn't spend half his time on the backside, unlike some of our defenders. But yeah, I'm getting impressed. I could see a pattern of play just about.
Yeah.
It didn't look quite so off the cuff that it normally does, but that'll take time. I want to see that Rafa effect. I want to see people knowing what their job was, and he did say that in the press conference. Be assured that everyone will know what their job is, or something similar. And I thought, well, that's a point he's making about Bruce.
Yeah.
From now on, everyone's going to know what their job is. Thank you very much.
Which helps.
Yeah, and I thought that's a little bit of a dig at our friends who's departed. But it's a bit like waking up from a near-death experience, isn't it? It's all very strange now. Yeah, having watched deconstructed football, I've learned a lot from Bruce. I'll give him that. I have learned. I didn't realize how much I knew about football till I watched that. It's like watching football deconstructed. But I'm really pleased that you guys are going to have something interesting to talk about. Because you've got the trouble, despite the patronising pundits, of learning a lot about football and knowing all these foreign clubs, foreign managers, all the rest of it. And it's going to be useful now. You won't be thinking about championship players we might be able to pick up on a loan.
Do you know what, Jeff? It's a really good point you make, because sometimes, the amount of tripe that you hear that people spout, and you think, they actually get paid for doing this.
Yeah.
It's unreal, isn't it? Absolutely unreal. Some of the opinions are just so way off the mark. Like the point you made at the very start, Jeff, was absolutely spot on. When you're getting these really lazy opinions like, Newcastle fans will have to wait, and Newcastle fans, don't expect Champions League in the next 2 or 3 years. And you're like, well, yeah, we know that. We watch them every single week. We're fully aware of that.
Yes. Another interesting spin-off of this, of course, on the same lines, is that the stock of our ex-players is going to rise in value. So I saw Warren Barton the other day. His fees are going to be going up. They're going to be invited more. So it's good for the ex-players as well, because they're going to be invited into the green room a lot more. And we might get some sensible bloody comments for a change.
Yeah. Well, what you'll see is, if you go back to the Tottenham game on Sky Sports, where we had, Kieran Dyer, David Ginola, what you're going to see now is a little bit more of that. Like you've mentioned, Warren Barton. You've got other players in there. Steve Howie's been on there. Lee Clark, Michael Chopra. There'll be Alan Shearer at some point. Kevin Keegan maybe
doesn't need the work mind.
Yeah, but all of the ex Newcastle players, and you'll get some of the old foreign ones. You'll probably get Laurent Robert at some point, Oliver Bernard. Aaron Hughes, some of these old guard. Shay Given will probably start having more of a say in the media, and so we should. It's about time because having someone
benefits all round
on TalkSport talking about Newcastle United when he's got no idea about the club, doesn't even watch the games. When he talks about the games, he has no idea what's even happened. So he's not watched the game. He's just going off the fact that he's looked at the scoreline, looked at maybe a few stats, and then he's basing his opinion on the club and the players and us as fans off a few stats and the results. And it's so lazy, it's so unprofessional, and it just makes him look like a mug. As well as others, the likes of Danny Murphy, the likes of Danny Mills, Jason Cundy, all these guys, most of them on TalkSport, but all these guys just have not got a clue about Newcastle United, and it's such a shame that we have to be subjected to listen to that absolute tripe.
Turn the sound off.
Yes. That's exactly what I do. I don't listen to it anymore.
Watch it in Spanish.
It's boring. It's boring. And you know what? In Spanish, it'll probably make more sense.
It does. And can we agree on a pronunciation of Joe Lissington or Joe Lillington or Joe Lilliput? I'm not sure. There seems to be all sorts of pronunciations by the commentators. They can't get that right either. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, gentlemen.
Pleasure.
It's been great. I'll let someone else get on.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, and you definitely deserve one of these. You always hit the back of the net with your comments. But thank you very much. Speak to you soon, mate. Take care.
Take care, Jeff.
Great points from Jeff. Always a good laugh. Always a good joke when he comes on. But again, made some really, really good points. Obviously you talked about the Ryan Fraser. You talked about, the performance. I just thought Miggy played well. I thought Miggy was electric when he came on, and he gave us something a little bit different. And I actually felt, we're kind of reverse opinions with regards to these players, because Jeff thought that Alan St. Maximin played well. I thought he was the worst player on the pitch, and I talked about that in my in the other pod with True Faith. I thought he was awful. I thought he was really bad. Off the top of my head, I think I remember him receiving the ball and losing it probably about 10 or 15 times. And there was probably about half of those times, where he lost the ball in good positions for us, and we ended up having to defend a last-ditch tackle or concede a corner because they've attacked up the other end and caused us no end of problems because he couldn't hold on to the ball. And I just thought it was a real concern to see how bad he played. And he only really upped his game when Miggy came on, because Miggy was direct, he was running at players, he was committing players coming forward. If we looked like scoring in the last part of the game when it was 1-1, it was down to Miggy. Miggy was creating the opportunities. That was just kind of my sort of alternative opinion on what Jeff said. But he always makes some great points regardless.
He does. He always has me on edge, Jeff, as well. I don't know why. I always just feel like I don't know what he's going to say. So I really enjoy him coming on, because he definitely keeps you on his toes. But yeah, Jeff made some great points tonight. And again, even in regard to the media, he absolutely nailed it. And I loved what he said at the end as well, about like ex-legends of the club. Like they must be rubbing their hands together, because we are firmly back on the map now, and it definitely gives them an opportunity, to start, coming on to shows like TalkSport or Sky Sports or BT. Hopefully their phone will be ringing a lot more. Definitely.
But before we get our next guest on, because I know he's been waiting patiently for a long time, just going to go through some of the sponsors. So Skips and Bins, easy, contract free, and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Website www.skipsandbins.com for all inquiries. Email inquiries@skipsandbins.com, or you can telephone at 0800 2545 253. And they actually have a Halloween special. So Sir Bobby is Sir Bobby the Pumpkin. He's gone for that Halloween special this week. So, yeah, make sure you get in contact with all your needs. We've got L&G Family Funeral Directors, at 0191 389 7245. We've got the main man, John Justice Allen, for all your pool table and snooker table needs. Go to QTech at qtechshop.co.uk. If you haven't seen the new clothing line from Jab Signature, get involved, have a look. They're on Instagram, or check out their website. Some fantastic gear that I know that Steve Rafe's been promoting at the moment. Looks fantastic. I'm definitely looking at grabbing some myself. The Christmas party is coming up. It's slowly creeping up on us. 19th of November, 7 p.m. The NUFC Matters Christmas party night. Still tickets available. Get yourself involved. The boys will be there. As well as that, we've got a night with Rob Lee. Tickets from £15 to £35. www.laurentwhitley.co.uk. That's on Thursday, the 28th of October. And as well as that, we've got a little bit of a loaded special coming up. So if you haven't seen it promoted already, we've got the main man, Warren Barton, on the show tomorrow from 6, all the way from San Diego. And he's going to be talking all things Newcastle United with the Loaded Boys. Our first ex-player on the show. So really excited to welcome him on. And Warren's really looking forward to coming onto the show and talking with us. So get involved, get your questions in as well in the chat. He's happy to answer any questions that you have for him as we plot the future of Newcastle United for the next few years. So lots to be looking forward to, both on NUFC Matters and Loaded. Right, we're going to go with a regular, but not been on for a while, but always a pleasure, never a chore. Welcome in, Wilfred. How are you, Wilfred?
Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Very, very good. Thank you. Very good. I know you had a fantastic day at the Spurs game the other week, didn't you? You were there in attendance. How was it?
Fantastic. It's the best feeling in the world. I mean, to think about, we waited for this for so long. We never. For me, I've always thought it's going to happen, as I always say, but I don't know how it's going to happen with all the oppositions, all the gang-ups and everything. So finally, we got the takeover. I think it's the greatest feeling in the world. I think the first thing I want to say is to say congratulations to every Newcastle fan. It was a hard-fought battle, whether mentally, whether physically, in terms of people being on Twitter every day trying to find out what the news is, people fighting each other because of the passion they have for this club, not because of the fact that they hated each other. And people need to recognize that. I think we should rejoice in this great news. It doesn't matter whatever anybody thinks. The pundits, the political scientists, the government, about human rights, I don't care. We shouldn't care. We should just love the fact that we are a proper club. We're going to be a proper club. People, we can't underestimate what this takeover has done for us. Imagine this takeover not happening. Where do you think Newcastle is going to be in the next 30 years? If Mike Ashley owns us or somebody else, it's going to be someone like Mike Ashley as well. So there will be no hope. There will be no way out of the rut. So regardless of everything that people are writing, it doesn't matter. They will say that. That's the way life is. When you're successful within a family, your cousins hate you. Your relatives hate you. It's the same way. So I don't think people should worry too much about all this crap. But human rights is something that is important to all of us. But really, we do as a fan. We can't change the world. That's the reality. We're not politicians. Yeah. We don't make decisions. We didn't buy the club for ourselves. We are just fans who are happy to have owners who believe in us. So we can use our force, the fact that we're fans, to voice our opinion to our owners on how we think the world could look like. That's all we can do. We can't change the government of Saudi Arabia, just as we can't change the government of this country if we don't vote. So what do they expect us to do? So for me, we should just rejoice in this new takeover. We should look forward to what is going to happen in the next few years. We should be patient with the new owners. They've got a massive job on their hands. They need to settle down. They will get some few decisions wrong. They will get most right, but we need to just go along with them and support them 100%. We shouldn't take it for granted. Why do you think Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, everybody's complaining? Because they know a force is in here now. We're going to challenge them. We're going to be the force to be reckoned with. Nobody likes that. Is that somebody wanted to take your dinner away from you, wanted to take your livelihood away from you. That is the threat. It is a serious threat that we're posing. But, so this is the price. I read all this stuff about, oh, yeah, Newcastle is the most hated club in the world. I love that title. I want to be supporting the most hated club in the world, but the most successful. That's it. So, yeah, so let's enjoy it. No one should feel guilty at all. The world is all about money. That is the fact. If you don't have money, there's nothing you can do. Let's be honest. You do a lot of stuff when you have money. People say, "Oh, money is not everything." But what can you really do without money? If you don't have money, you can't pay your rent, you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your bills. So money is good. So we've got the money. We should rejoice in it. We should support the new owners. We should, have healthy debates. We should have educated debates. The time when we're fighting Premier League and cursing them and all that, those days are gone. We should focus on how we can debate on the direction we want our club to go, the kind of manager who's going to come in, the kind of players who's going to, come into the club. Those are the stuff we should be talking about. So for me, personally, I'm very, very happy. Every day is like Christmas for me, in terms of this takeover, because I never thought in my lifetime, being, in my mid-40s, that I'm going to see this kind of opportunity. I'll give you a story about 3 years ago. We went on a Christmas break in London with my son and my family, and we were having a drink at the bar, and we were watching Newcastle playing Nottingham Forest. I think about 4 years ago during the Rafa time. I remember the match vividly. So I was wearing my Newcastle shirt. My son was wearing his. We were in the bar watching football. Everybody was looking at us, and then Nottingham Forest beat us. I think 1-0, or I can't remember the game. I'm sure you guys will remember during the Rafa time. And it was one of the games that we should have won. So my son just busted out crying. Said, "Daddy, but why do we have to support Newcastle? We don't win. We're always losing. Why do we have to support?" And he was so heartbroken. I said, "You know what? One day, maybe you just never know. We're going to have somebody who's going to be rich, who's going to buy us. We're going to be like Man City or maybe Chelsea. And then we're going to be a big club, and it's okay." And he was very happy. Even though I haven't got a clue whether that's, whether that's going to happen. I just said that to make him happy. So the fact that it's actually happened in my lifetime, it's like a dream come true, So, yeah, I think it's a good news for every one of us. We should rejoice in it. We should celebrate it, because it's not easy in the battle that we fought. I was part of the people who went to London to protest during COVID, with Steve, with so many of the girls, with Holly, with everybody walking around the street of London with placard when everybody was laughing at us. I remember even my friends would say, "Oh, yeah, you mad? Why are you still supporting this club?" I said, "No, I've been supporting Newcastle for 27 years. I can't turn my back. I'm a lawyer soldier. That's who I'm going to support until I die." So for that to actually happen, it wasn't easy. It was a hard-fought battle. And I'll tell you one more secret today. Even though I work in technology, I'm an IT person, I was never into any social media platform. I'd never had a Twitter, never had a Facebook, never had anything. I joined Twitter specifically because of Newcastle takeover a year ago. That was the only reason I was on Twitter. So with all these efforts, for someone like me, with you guys and millions of our fans all over the world, I think it's something that we should not underestimate. It's a big victory. They're gonna hate us. They're gonna envy us. That's normal. That's natural. When you succeed, when you're doing well, people envy you. That's reality of life. You can't worry yourself about that. Where will Manchester United be without money? Where will Chelsea be without Abramovich? Where will Man City be without the UAE money? So what's the difference? People want to bring the father human rights in Saudi Arabia. I've got about 3 relatives who lives in Saudi Arabia who are doctors. These guys will never live in UK. They will never live in America because they're having a fantastic lifestyle. They're getting well paid. They don't pay tax. They have also good things to say about Saudi Arabia. So it depends on which side of the fence you want to belong. Every argument have the right side and the wrong side. So for people to sit in this part of the world and try to tell Saudi Arabia how to run their country, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. Well, it's a matter of opinion. For me, I've not really seen a Saudi Arabian who's come out to say, oh, my country is rubbish. Come and help me. I'm dying. It's not that bad. Yeah, there are things that they should do better, in terms of, LGBTQ, which I support, which I think there should be equality of all human beings. We are one, but it takes time. It takes a process. Like in Africa countries, there was a time every African country was under military rule, dictatorship. Now they are going democracy. Things are changing. It's a gradual process. There's an adage in Nigeria, where I come from originally, that you don't throw a baby with the bad water out. If you want to throw away the dirty water, where you're bathing your baby in the bath, you can't throw the bath water that is dirty with the baby. Do you understand? You take away the baby and throw away the water. So if you say, oh yeah, this water is dirty, I'm just going to throw the baby and the water away, people are going to say you're mad. So we can't solve Saudi Arabian problem if we say, oh, don't come near us, don't come to us, we don't need you. That's not how it's going to work. We need to bring them close. We need to dialogue. We need to have a talk. We need to share experiences and help each other to understand the reasons why we want them to change. So for me, this collaboration with Newcastle is tactical, is strategic, and I think is one of the best things that is going to happen to football. In years to come, people will look back and say, you know what, I think it was a good decision, because we might just make the change that everybody's been talking about. We might be the one that will change the way Saudi Arabia and these countries look at different aspects of, other cultures. It's a gradual process. The chairman was at the stadium that day. You could see the smile on his face. He loved the atmosphere. He took everything in. I'm sure he will want to come back. And I'm sure he will go back home and say, you know what, this is a very, very good people. Lovely fans. They were very, very welcoming. And they wouldn't want to offend people like that. They wouldn't want a situation where we wouldn't love them anymore. So if we then say, you know what, Mr. Chairman, we want you to do this. We want you to persuade your government to make these policies, to change these stuff. It can happen. It can happen. There was a time that, in Russia, in USSR, there was communism. There was all sort of, really rigid communist system. Look what's happened there. Estonia, Lithuania, they all left USSR. They became countries. So things can change. So people need to accept change. So Newcastle's fortune have changed. They need to accept it. If they don't accept it, they can F off. That's it.
I love that, Wilfred. Do you know what? Jeff wrote something then while Wilfred was talking, and I absolutely agree. Jeff wrote, Wilfred should get together with Steve and do a kids book. Do you know what? At one moment there, Wilfred, I was thinking, this is like, I don't know, where like you read your kid a story at night and, like they feel all cozy and they feel better about things. Because when you were talking then, I was like, do you know what? Everything's going to be all right, isn't it? Everything is going to be okay. And you're absolutely right, mate, what you're saying. You're absolutely right. And it's about making sure that like we try and ignore all the noise. Because let's be honest, if one of our rivals got taken over, we'd probably, people won't like saying this, but we'd probably be saying exactly the same as what other people are saying, because deep down we know that the other person who got this takeover, who'd been lucky enough to be in the position that we're in, we'd see them as a rival, and that's why the Big Six didn't want it. That's why everyone's kicking off over it, and that's why everyone's trying to stop our progression. And that's basically what it is, isn't it?
And another point I really want to point at is we should look at this takeover in the context of real life situation. If you are in a group of friends or even a family or at work, if you're the guy that's brilliant at work, that you're always delivering on your project, you're doing very well, the colleagues will envy you. It's normal. You can't expect people to clap for us, to embrace us. Oh, you're the richest club in the world. You're going to win the Champions League in the next 5 years. Oh, we love that. No, they're not going to love that. So this is the reality of our new status. Is it that we embrace it, filter the noise, and focus on where we want this club to get to? And that's what we should be doing. We should be debating on what we can do to help the new owners to, correct the mistakes of the past. The fan base is unified at the moment. We're doing really great. People who have disagreed in the past, I've seen people taking pictures together, and I know those who are still on the other side, they're still gonna come in and come to the center. We will embrace each other because it was a very tense battle. People start disagreeing with themselves because we have no one to disagree with. So it wasn't an easy battle. So it's easy for Man United fans and Chelsea fans to laugh at us, to call us names, to put in stupid banners in their stadium. They didn't go to London during COVID to demonstrate. They didn't, get on the bus from Newcastle for 6-7 hours to drive to London, leave their family and friends in the cold to demonstrate. People did that for this club. We weren't paid for it. So it was a real sacrifice. How many fans would do that in the world? Maybe only Newcastle fans. So people should realize this takeover wasn't just Amanda Staveley and the consortium. The fans made it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
The noises we were making on Twitter, we might think is not affecting the Premier League. It must have been affecting them. All the banners, all the stuff we were saying, all the banters, it probably affected them. So we should embrace this victory. We should rejoice in it. And for me, I don't even remember all these pundits. They pay to talk rubbish. Most of them are not even educated. They don't even know politics. I know politics more than 90% of them. I just look at them. But for me, it's not the football fans who's going to resolve human rights issues, not in Saudi Arabia, not in anywhere in the world. That's not our job. We are football fans. We are just a football fans to enjoy and entertain our game. We can influence things, but it's not up to us to change the world. And we need to realize that we shouldn't feel guilty.
And you know what, Wilfred? I think we as a fan base have realised that, and you talked about us embracing it, and I think the way I talked about the away end on Saturday at Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, I think the way fans, we have embraced it, and we really, we were celebrating the fact that we are now free from an owner that didn't care about the club, and we now have owners that do care about us. And the points that you've made about the human rights and everything else, it will take time. It will take time to settle itself in. And I know you've been quite vocal with regards to when, whether it's journalists or whether it's people on TalkSport or whoever, have been making comments about the club, and you spoke very eloquently about how it's not on us, and how we're just fans of this football club, and we should just be happy that Mike Ashley's gone, and it's not necessarily about the only sort of walk through the door. But look, you've made some fantastic points, Wilfred. You always do, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And all you have to do is just look at the chat. The people that are praising you for the comments that you've made, it's always a pleasure, and keep talking and sharing your views, because people want to hear what you've got to say, and you are, as Chris said, you are a kind of a calming voice, certainly on any FC matters, and you allow people to make us feel as fans that things are going to be okay. So absolutely spot on as always, and you definitely deserve.
Thank you.
The clap was for you, Wilfred. You're not
supposed
to
clap.
People, man of the people.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You take care, Wilfred. Welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much.
Take care, mate.
Amazing. Always fantastic to hear from Wilfred. He really is a top guy.
Yeah, do you know what? It's it was some of the comments had me in a stitch because I tell you what, Wilfred has got away with words, hasn't he? I couldn't do what he's just done there. Like he literally just went off on one, but everything he said was absolutely right. And
Yeah.
do you know what? He put his points across really well, didn't he? And I think the main thing to take from what Wilfred said is that, you know, as a fan base, let's just enjoy it. And every time you hear anything negative or other fans having a go, just sit there, smile, and get on with it. Because really, they just wish that they were in our position. That's all it is.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. But I've got a bone to pick with some of you in the chat. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. By the VPN, for your internet issues, for your internet services, these are the people to go to. Spider VPN, the main guys, the main sponsors, the main ones that we should be looking at. And for all of you that were questioning me about this is what I think of all of you guys. That's what you get.
I was flashing all the comments up as well. I was just buzzing off it while Wilfred was talking.
That's what you get for bringing it up in the chat. It's your own faults. But no, some amazing comments.
We'll get some belter comments in.
We've got a couple of more guests. We'll get them on. Let's bring on Dunhill. How are you, Dunhill?
Good evening. How we doing?
Very, very good. Thank you. Look, talk to us. What's your point you're going to raise on NUFC this week?
On UFC, right. Well, a couple of things really. Right. First of all, a quick word to those that decided to put that banner up. Well, if you're so morally, sound, what I would do is, guys, sell your cars, go to work on horseback, deactivate your Twitter account, deactivate your Facebook account, don't watch a Disney film again, and make sure you don't stay and make sure you're not banking at Citibank or whatever, because it was stupid. Let's face it. And I've noticed there's no action being taken, but all these issues have come up, but other takeovers have happened. No issues, human rights or intelligence threats, i.e. Russia threats came up with. Anyway, we're here to discuss football, not politics, but I just thought I'd get that rant out there. I felt Saturday's game was a get out of jail point.
Yeah.
It was a bonus point, really, because if you take the game as a whole, we didn't deserve anything from that. I felt that. No. I mean, as the defending was, sometimes it was a bit desperate with Dillied a bit. It was a bit dilly dong sometimes. Instead of getting it out, it was too much, messing about at the back instead of going get it out. And as for passing the ball, we couldn't pass Wind, could we, that day on Saturday? We literally couldn't pass Wind, and hopefully that game has also served in terms of transfer targets for January. It served as a reality check as to what we need. Because just going from the back, Kieran Clark should have been a governor in that situation when Benteke, out-muscled him, basically.
I agree.
And as a centre-back, you need to be the governor in there. You don't get, you don't let a centre-forward bully you. Fair enough, he's strong and all that, but, as a centre-back, you have to be the governor in there. And set pieces, barring that one where we scored the goal, I mean, it was a fantastic goal.
Superb.
If a South American or a Ronaldo had done that, a lot of pundits would have got rather excited, almost. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Orgasmic, I think a lot of them would have become. But
they could. Yeah.
but yeah, so obviously, this is just January shopping list. We need Conor Cody has been mentioned. I'd go with that. Give him the captain's armband. He'd get them organised, get them sorted. Obviously, we've said this on numerous shows. We need a backup centre forward to Callum Wilson. Preferably, I would say we need a centre forward who can hold the ball up well.
Mm-hmm.
Like what you remember when we had Rondon and Perez.
Yeah.
If that sort of a partnership could get built up, that would be ideal. And in the middle of the park, don't know where he's going to come from, but we need someone who can. I like that one.
Yeah, it's got that.
We need someone who just doesn't have that Hollywood ball all the time. Doing the best Tom Brady impression. Somebody who has it in the center and just keeps. Is like a, what's the word I'm looking for? A metronome. Keeping the ball moving in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
A metronome midfielder. That's just so build that sort of a spine.
Yeah.
To move, that would be money well spent.
Yeah.
In my book, if we can get those in January, and really we need to start looking at them now, as in straight away, not in the last 2 weeks of January. You start doing the deals now. I mean, but of course that's all dependent on the scouting system, because we need to put that structure, off-field structure needs to be in place. Obviously, ASAP.
Yeah.
Manager,
do you know what, Donald? I completely agree. I'm just going to quickly touch on a couple of your points because I'm dying to comment on them. Pete, sorry for jumping in. All I would say, Donald, I agree with you about Clark. About he did get bullied, and I tell you what, we made Benteke look like a world beater at the weekend. I know his form has improved over the last few months for Palace. And the back end of last season it had improved, and that's what got him his new contract. But I was really worried how good Benteke looked, and it just made me think, God, I hope Lukaku isn't back for Chelsea, because Lukaku would just have an absolute field day if we defend like that against Chelsea. But you were talking about like a general, like a leader. And it goes back to the same point that, a lot of us have been making now for weeks, months, over the year, in Jamal Lascelles. And again, I want Pete to touch on this in a minute as well, because obviously Pete was at the match. But you're saying about Clark being out of position, and obviously Benteke beat him, didn't he, at the far post, and it was a relatively easy header for him. But again, this is always my problem with Lascelles. I think Lascelles or Clark individually would perform better if they weren't playing with each other. I think you need someone in there who is going to command the box. A bit like that. I think that's why we're missing Dubravka so much as well, because we're missing that voice. But if we had a strong centre back with a big voice who's marshalling the defence, telling everyone where to be, telling people when they're out of position, I think we'll improve tenfold. And that's why, to touch on when you were talking about positions and places we need to improve, that's why for me now, I'd say even a centre-back is even more important than getting a backup for Wilson or a central midfielder, even though we desperately need a central midfielder. And you were talking about getting, an understudy for Callum Wilson. It could even be that we get somebody in, to replace Callum Wilson, and Callum Wilson becomes our understudy. I mean, for me, we need 3 or 4 at least in January. I don't think we're going to see 6 or 7 come in, and I don't necessarily think that's the right thing to do either. I think it's just like small tweaks, because we've got what we've got, and then in the summer that's when we need to do the big overhaul. I mean, Pete, just because obviously I want to ask you this outright. What were your thoughts on the goal that we conceded? I mean, some people will blame Clark, some people will blame Darlow, some people will blame Lascelles, some people are blaming Longstaff. I believe he misplaced the pass. I mean, what were your thoughts when you first saw that goal go in? Where was your disappointment coming from?
I'll be honest, they're both to blame, because that was probably the 7th or 8th time that type of cross was put into the box.
Yeah, it was.
It was very, very clear, and we couldn't see it because in the first half, because it's opposite end of the pitch. But in the second half, it was right in front of us. And what they were doing is working the ball down the line, but not just putting in a standard cross. They were just dropping the cross back. They were just lofting the ball, just dropping it back. So it wasn't in the line of the defenders. Benteke was just dropping back and then being able to attack the ball. Now, when that happens 2, 3, 4 times, as a player, you can see that repeated pattern and think, you know what, we need to stop that from happening. So when a player like Conor Cody or Elise or someone like that's in that position, you would think that they'd be able to read that situation. And their first thought that when Elise or when Conor Cody is running down that line to put that ball into the box, the first thought is, where's Benteke? No one else on that pitch was going to get near the ball. I thought Manquillo defended Edouard fantastically well.
Yeah, no, he did.
Edouard wasn't in the game at all.
Yeah.
And I thought, Manquillo needs to come out with even more credit now because he's pulled off a string of very, very good performances in the last 5 or 6 games. I thought he's been very, very good. So that was a non-factor. So the only one that could really trouble us in the box was Benteke. Why 2 defenders can't organise themselves to mark him? The only guy that they need to mark in the box and couldn't do it is beyond me. It's not Ronaldo we're talking about. It's not Peter Crouch, someone or someone else that's amazing in the air. It's Benteke. He's not the best in the air. If you marshal him well enough, he becomes a non-factor. But we allowed him to look better than what he was. And time after time, he was winning headers, winning knockdowns. I mean, the goal is poor. I've got to be honest. I mean, we could question Clark because Clark can see Benteke's run. So why is he not touch tight? Why is there not a tug on the shirt? Why is there not getting close to him to take him off his stride? There was none of that. We've just let him have a clean run and a head on the ball. You could argue that Lascelles was in front of him. Lascelles was clearly given the role of stopping Benteke in the air. And you could see that in the first half. Either side of the defence, he was tracking him. In the second half, he didn't do that and he got caught. So they're both to blame. For me, Carl Darlow's even more to blame because where Benteke heads that ball is pretty much in the 6-yard box. There is no way that lofted ball, it wasn't a whipped crossing, it was a lofted ball into the air. There is no way that Carl Darlow should be letting that ball land at where Benteke heads the ball. And you know what? When Benteke heads the ball's actually coming down from its trajectory. It's not high up in the air. It's not at the highest point. It's gone to its highest point and come down, and Benteke has just nodded it down into the goal. There is no way that a goalkeeper should be allowing that ball to come into the box there unchallenged. Martin Dubravka's in goal. It never happens.
No,
or at least challenges it, and it makes it difficult for Benteke. And there's probably a 90 to 95% chance that ball doesn't go in. So there's an argument that all 3 of those players are to blame equally because they allowed that situation to happen. And those 3 players have allowed one player, and he's not an amazing player, but he's a half-decent player, allowed him to make them look stupid. And he's gone off and done it again, where he's hit the bar. He's gone off and done it again, albeit being a foul, where he scored the goal and it got ruled out. He hit the post in the first half. He had another chance in the first half. He had another one in the second half where he hit it on the a bit of a scissor kick and it went just over the bar. He had countless chances.
Should have had a hat-trick.
He should have had 4. He had 4 very, very good chances. He hit the bar. He scored. He had one ruled out. He hit the post in the first half. You could argue the scissor kick that he had where he was unchallenged, he should have done better. There's potentially 5 goals he should have scored there. And we've allowed that to happen. That's not Lukaku we're talking about. That's not a Benzema we're talking about. That's not, even a Calvert-Lewin, although I don't really rate Calvert-Lewin. He's not Calvert-Lewin or a Bamford or someone like that. This is Benteke.
we should step that. This is Benteke.
Yeah. We've allowed him to do that.
He looks unreal.
I do.
Pete, do you blame Graham Jones at all, by the way? And the reason I say that is because we saw that onslaught from Benteke, and in Graham Jones's post-match conference, he said, "Yeah, I know all about Benteke. I was obviously coaching him at Belgium with Martinez." Do you put any blame at all there? Could he see that this was going to happen? Because I could see it. I knew Benteke was going to score.
Clark, and look, I didn't want Clark to start. I would have preferred Fernandez or Shaw to play.
Yeah.
But you can see that the reason why they played, those 2 were the best defenders, the best 2 centre-backs to go up against Benteke. Because Fernandez and Shaw would have had either similar problems or worse. They would have got dominated further from him. Lascelles and Clark are the best defensive headers of the ball. Fernandez is not bad, to be fair. He's not bad. Yeah. But those 2 are the best in terms of stopping defenders in the air, winning the ball in the air. and we allowed him to dominate us, and that was a big concern. And the fact that Graham Jones is come out and rightly said there's still a lot of work to do. There is a lot of work to do.
There is.
Now, I just want to get this point out there. Jeff said in the chat that I want John Stones, and I do. I think he's a perfect signing for us. A defender that can play on the ground, he's organised, he's good in the air. I think he would be a perfect centre back for us, taking us forward. Do I think he'll come to us now in this window or in this season? No, I don't. If we were sitting mid-table and we were looking to go in the right direction with a new manager in charge, yes, I would think he would probably consider it, because he'd probably be able to see the bigger picture after this season and beyond, and know that he would be a big part of it. I see him more as a summer signing, as well as the likes of Koulibaly and one or two others that we were looking at centre-back related. However, we have 2 centre-backs that we could pick up in January that would effectively secure us in the Premier League, and that's Conor Cody and that's James Tarkowski. Those 2 are both not just fantastic defenders, they are both captain material. Now, Conor Cody is the captain of Wolves. Tarkowski isn't the captain, it's Ben Mee, but he sometimes fills in as captain if Ben Mee is not playing for whatever reason. They are leaders. They know how to lead. Put those 2 together, you don't get that problem. You do not get that problem happening. And actually what you do get is organisation. Put a Manquillo that's well on form at the moment, and then potentially get someone like Jamal Lewis or another left back in to play left back, Paul Dummett, for example, who's a defender, and you have a defence there that is significantly better than what we're seeing right now. That's, in my opinion. You put Dubravka in goal, you're even stronger. Then we've got a base there to work from in terms of moving forward. And remember, we don't like saying this. It's horrible to even say this. We're the richest club in the world, but it is about staying in the league this season. We do not want to be the richest club in the world, finally getting taken over by Mike Ashley and then getting relegated. We stay in the league and then we build. Next season's a fresh blanket start. Everyone starts from the same position. If we can go in then and really strengthen, which I believe we will, that is where we really kick on. But for now, we need to stay in the league. And I think that is a big reason why we're struggling to find the right manager, because I think I really think that we're struggling right now with regards to get a long-term manager or a short-term manager. I think we're really struggling with that at the moment. I think that's what the owners are struggling with personally. But I do believe that we'll stay in the league, because I think we'll buy smart. I don't see us spending 100 million now. I don't think we'll spend crazy money, but I think we'll spend money on the players that we need, certainly at the back and in midfield. And then I think in attacking areas, that's where we'll use the loan system. Not just the loan system in the Premier League, we'll use the loan system in Europe, because we can get a few more loans in Europe without it affecting us. And I think you'll see 1 or 2 players leave the club. I say 1 or 2 players, probably 3 or 4 that will leave the club. That's just my opinion on things. But Conor Cody, James Tarkowski, they are perfect signings, right ages, right mentality, right quality that can keep us in the league and move us up in the right direction. And then we build from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
Right. Sorry for that little bit of a rant, but it had to be done.
Love it, mate.
Absolutely pleasure as always. Thank you for coming on. We've got the stat man in the green room, so I'm going to let you go, but always welcome back, Dunil. Thank you. You take care, mate.
You too, mate. Cheers.
And our last guest of the evening, stat man.
Evening, lads.
How you doing?
Evening, lads. How are you?
Very good. I tell you what, that volume's sounding good at the moment.
The headset. It's fixed everything.
Love it. Right. What's your point, Keith? Talk to us.
Haven't got anything really clearly down. I mean, the last few weeks has just been a whirlwind with the whole takeover and everything. So much information to consume, and again, unfortunately, the reality of the football club and the team and having to stay in the Premier League is there staring at its face at us. You know, obviously we've watched the Spurs game and obviously seen the Crystal Palace away game. And, I think a point gained on Saturday, a lucky point, but a point gained really. And again, just to reflect what some of the points that you made on the last call there with Dunnell, Benteke was made to look like a world beater on there. It's, I thought I was watching one of the best strikers in the world there, really. Some of what I watched, and Newcastle very lucky that the VAR decision actually went for them this season for the first time, really. And again, a brilliant goal. It highlighted to me how important Callum Wilson is to us again in the last couple of games. And I'm looking at this core that we've got, and we cannot do anything until January. And I'm hoping and praying that Dubravka's back soon and he makes a difference to that back line. His natural leadership comes through, and the marshalling from the back, the directions, certainly with the defense, because it's lacking and it's needed really. Because in the Spurs game, it was the gaps were shocking, and it was tough at times against Crystal Palace again. Your possession stats were shocking, I thought, for Newcastle. Just 25% in the pass completion. There's a lot there that can be improved on, and I'm hoping Dubravka coming back can make some difference, because he's been sorely missed in the last few months.
I think having Dubravka back, mate, is going to be key, isn't it? I think we're going to see a marked improvement, not just in front, in between the sticks, but also the defence. Pete made a great point when he was talking about Manquillo, and you could argue over the last 3-4 games, Manquillo has just been absolutely fantastic. He's been definitely one of our better players. And somebody else said in the chat there, which I think is a really good point, and we haven't really touched on this, but Graham Nichol has said in the chat, I don't believe our squad is as bad as it's showing. Bring the right manager in and we'll see who that is. I haven't got a clue. Yeah. Do you know what? I think Graham makes a really good point there, because we have been a little bit negative in terms of the squad and the players that we've got. But you do think if we can get a manager in who can really get these players going, and that's no disrespect towards Graham Jones, because I did see an improvement at the weekend in terms of how we were set up. And it could even be a better improvement come Saturday when we play Chelsea. But I do believe, and I've said this for a long time, that it's a new voice. The players need a new voice, and that's what they need to hear at the moment. And I think that it'll bring a lift to the club, and I think players will start playing better, because at the moment I think they are still kind of in that rut, and maybe things don't feel that different or that much of a change because Graham Jones has come in. And as I say, that's no disrespect to Graham Jones, but I think as well, he probably doesn't particularly want the spotlight. Obviously, it's great to say that he's managed Newcastle, but I think he is comfortable in his coaching role. And once that new manager comes in, Keith, and I don't know about you, I think we will see an improvement. And these players, as we've shown in previous seasons, can get us out of it. Do we need to improve? Absolutely. But the players that we've got, there is enough there. If we can keep Callum Wilson fit, we can keep St. Maximin fit, and we start to play to players' strengths, a bit like Miggy, which we've spoke about in the past, we're a threat to any side. But it's about utilising these players and making sure that we're organised and that the effort's there. And unfortunately, some of those boxes weren't ticked over the last few weeks, and that's why we've not picked up a win so far this season.
Yeah, realistically, do you think, how many faces do you think could? I know it's a bit finger in the air at the minute, but do you think up to 5 faces in January?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. I think it's needed. As I say, I don't want to do like wholesale changes in January, because you don't want to upset the balance of the squad. You've got to bring in the right players. Right. Yeah, you'd have. And if we were to buy like 8 players in January, that could go against us. Because all different personalities, some people will get left out. It could upset the balance of the squad. If they were to bring in 2, 3, 4 players, I think that would work. Players that can have an impact and make an improvement. We've seen in previous seasons where we brought in a loan or 2, and the difference was amazing. So I'm not suggesting we're going to bring in a loan. We probably won't. There could be some loan with an option to buy. We could see some deals like that. Maybe they're going to want to make a more permanent decision in the summer. It could even be that we bring in players where we go, do you know what? They'll do a job for us. We might want to move them on in the summer, but right now they're what we need, because ultimately, as we've all said, we need to stay in the Premier League. We need to stay in this league.
Absolutely.
And it's at any cost.
I 100% agree. I think we'll make a few signings. I think in terms of permanent signings, we'll probably make only one or two, and then the rest will be built up around loans. Loans with a view to buy, or a loan, just a straight loan, so you can release them in the summer. Or if you want to keep them on long term and sign them permanently. So, for example, someone like Jesse Lingard wants to play football, wants to lead, wants to get into the England squad. He'd be a perfect signing for Newcastle because he'd give his all. If we stayed in the league, you could then consider signing him on a permanent deal as a player to take forward. If not, you move him aside, you send him back, and then take him forward, go forward and buy, somebody else of equal or better quality. So you've got the option to play around with, and I think the fact that we've got 190 to 200 million to spend, I don't think we'll spend even half of that. If I'm honest, I think it'll be probably around the 50 million, if I'm honest, mark, and then the rest of it will be compiled through loans. But we need to get rid of players. So if you look around the squad, the likes of Kraft, the likes of maybe Clark, the likes of maybe even Shaw, Dwight Gale, players like that, Jeff Hendricks, I fully expect to be told that there's not a future at this club, and you're probably best to move on, or otherwise you're not going to make the squad list, the 25-man squad, and they don't want to be like a Henry Sarve or an Ashraf Lazar or a Jack Colback that are not even making the 25, and they're there training day in, day out, knowing they're not going to play on a Saturday. So I think that type of ultimatum might be given to 2 or 3 players in the January transfer, and they say, look, it's best if you probably move on because you've not got a future at the club. And it'll be interesting to see who those type of players are. We can afford to get rid of a Fabian Shaw if we're going to get someone like a Conor Cody in. We can afford to get rid of him because then after that, in the summer, we're going to build on top of Conor Cody or a James Tarkowski, and you're probably looking at a better centre-back pairing. So my perfect centre-back pairing to take us forward in a real way is the likes of Koulibaly and John Stones as a partnership. But it ain't bad having someone like Conor Cody and Tarkowski in and around that, so you could play a back three. Yeah. And have a transition back three, but you could also play a back two and have 2 good centre backs in competition in and behind that. And you know what? If we're looking to win trophies, those players will be happy to play a part in that and be part of a squad. And if you've got a manager that wants to switch between the back 3 and a back 4, like you've said, that transition, Keith, is perfect. It's a perfect opportunity to play around with that. So, there's opportunities to make things work, but we do need to become a solid unit at some point, and we need to make sure that we're making the right decisions.
Do you foresee any problems with potential the Premier League clubs refusing to do business with NUFC? I've seen a few things flashing about online about this in the last few days. I know there's other markets, but if Newcastle are looking at home to get players in, do you think that could throw a spanner in the works with a few names in January?
There'll be a few clubs that won't want to do business with us, but if I'm honest, it'll probably be clubs that we probably won't want to do business with them. It'll be the likes of Everton and West Ham and a couple of those type of teams that are basically jealous and worried about our potential of very quickly overtaking them. The likes of Tottenham maybe, and the likes of Arsenal, that are scared about us. They're the ones that will probably be the ones saying we're not going to do any business with them. But for us doing a business with Burnley, who really need the money at the moment, I don't see a problem. With those with the likes of Wolves, maybe, but I think Conor Cody made his points very, very clear about would he come to Newcastle United. I think it's very clear, and if we offered the right amount of money, I think he would go. I think he's at the age now where he wants a new challenge, and he wants to go to another club. I don't think he sees the trajectory of Wolves in the way he did maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I think they've gone stale, personally, and I don't think they have the type of pull anymore that we do. And I think he sees that, and I think it's a great opportunity for him to move to a club that's potentially or definitely going places. So I don't see that as a problem. I don't see the likes of Man United having a problem with us. If we're going to take Lingard off their hands for a hefty loan fee or potentially a permanent fee, West Ham can pay the 25-30 million, but we sure can. Are they going to turn that down? Nah, I don't think so. I think money always talks in the end, as we always say.
Yeah.
Well, I do think we will look into the European market, and there we won't have a problem. I think the European market, we could pick up some bargains.
I think definitely in Spain. Spain's really got problems with Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid. The levels of debt they've got. Maybe some of the better players and better teams in Italy as well.
Yeah.
I know Inter have had problems in the summer as well.
Do you know what, Keith? As well, what we were talking about earlier. Actually, I didn't touch on it. I forget which caller it was, but we were saying, we need to make these signings early, and we need to make sure that we do it early in the window. I think that is going to change. I think that these deals will probably all get wrapped up. You see some clubs, and as soon as January the 1st comes, the deal's done. I think we're going to see deals like that, but I also hope, and I'm sure, I'm saying I hope, I know this will be the case. You're going to have clubs who will have their eye on other players. And in order for those deals to happen, they need to offload players, or, they need to look at offers incoming. So I think that's going to work to our advantage. So we may have 2 or 3 players on our list and we go, right, let's get them in. And then we could also have like a bit of a wish list, or a list that maybe we're looking at for the summer, but we might just want to test the water early, maybe throw in a little bit towards the end of the window. And clubs panic. It's renowned. Clubs panic at the end of a window. Under Ashley, we've not seen that, because we've always found, 2 or 3 days before the window shuts, we're either trying to get a deal done, which probably won't happen, or we're basically like a closed shop. Ashley's gone, no, not interested. We've done all our deals. We're not looking to sign anyone. Leave it. But I think it's going to be different now under this ownership, because there will be some bargains to be had, and certain clubs will be desperate to bring certain players in. And in order to balance the books, they may have to end up selling players. And that is where we can take advantage of that. Like you've already highlighted there, the troubles in Serie A, troubles in La Liga. There's a lot of clubs who are under pressure to sell some of their players. And if the likes of Newcastle come in and they've got a star player and we go, okay, we'll put a little bid in. How's that look? They might end up taking the offer. And because it's near the end of the transfer window, they might think, right, we can bring him in, let him go, and we can bring him in at a cheaper price, and that will free up some money for us to get him. So, the market works in our favour now, and all these other Premier League clubs can come out and say, oh, don't do any deals with Newcastle. As Pete rightly said, money talks.
I think particularly
if they want it doing.
Yeah.
I think particularly as well, the loan market as well, with a fee involved as well, with factoring in financial fair play, fans being realistic here, we're not going to go out for Mbappe for all the millions and everything straight away and blow that wad of 100 million or whatever it is. We could make some quite shrewd loan deals with loan fees involved. And I think the manager coming in, it's coming in at a good time. Graham Jones in the next 2 games, and then obviously you've got that international break with the new manager, hopefully in post, to figure out the workings of the club and the team. And then obviously a month and a half later, you've got that window coming in as well. So hopefully there'll be a lot of pre-January work done there.
Yeah, I think we'll see deals done early January, Keith. I think the first week in January, I think we bring in 2 or 3 players. It wouldn't surprise me if the deal's lined up now. And then, like I say, towards the middle end of the window, there'll probably be some players we've got our eye on. And let's say, I don't know, let's say the player's worth 50 million. We might come in and go, give you 40 million. And some of these clubs are going to be in a position where they think, you know what, we could do with that 40 million. We've got our eye on a 10 or 15 million pound player, bring him in. And then that would leave us, 15, 25 million, whatever, left over to, as I say, balance the books. So the advantage is with Newcastle.
Definitely. Well, we'll leave it there. But Keith, great chat, great questions. Great. Really, really interesting to have that conversation about potential signings in January, because look, we're getting nearer to that time, and that's definitely going to be on the agenda, having those conversations. But as always, an absolute pleasure.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys. Great speaking to you.
As always. Speak to you soon, Keith. You take care.
Take care, guys.
Loving Keith's mic. Loving it.
Oh, you tell you what, sings like a bird now. Sings like an absolute bird. What a show. Never expected it to be this long, but I had some fantastic calls in tonight. As always, the guys in the chat have been absolutely spot on. Really good questions, really good points being made. Absolutely, most definitely. And as always, Chris, it's a pleasure to share the time with you.
Yeah, absolutely loved it, Pete. Do you know what? That was one of my favourite ones. That, you know, because it was literally just back-to-back calls, everyone coming on. The chat's been great, comments have been great. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the show, Pete. It's been great.
Definitely. Well, look, it's going to be an interesting week. Not sure what to expect, but can we?
Do you think we'll have our new manager in before Saturday?
There was talk. I don't know. There was talk. I really don't know. You know what? Like this manager situation's been a bit of an up and down. Like 1 minute it was Lampard, the next minute it was Fonseca, the next minute it was Howe, the next minute it was going to be Conte at the beginning, then it's going to be Unai Emery, then it could be Arsene Wenger, then it could be Ten Hag. It's changing all the time. I don't even look at the odds now because it's just crazy at the moment.
Yeah,
so
it is.
My honest answer is I just don't know. You know, Graham Jones has been given the next couple of games, like obviously this weekend and Saturday. Could a manager be in place by then? Possibly. Maybe announced on Friday, maybe up in the stands at St. James's on Saturday. But for all we know, they might not have decided it, but you can tell that they're really taking their time on making a decision. And you know what? If we went and won on Saturday, I think they would probably take the time a little bit more. I think if they can have as much time as they possibly can to make the right signing, I think they will. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. What do you think?
I don't know, mate. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Jones has been told he's got the Chelsea game, hasn't he? Whether or not they do bring the new manager in and then we see them in the stands, who knows? But it could even be, that they give it another week. And like you say, there's no hurry. Well, there is a hurry, but I'd rather them take the time and bring in the right man. For me, you know, that's the ultimate, that's the most important thing, isn't it? But all the names are being linked with. I mean, it's just still so nice, isn't it, to be in this position where, you know, we've got this plethora of candidates who could take the manager's job. Whereas if we'd look back on this, Pete, you know, 6 weeks ago, you probably would have been able to pick all the candidates on like one hand, if that.
Yeah. Oh, there'd probably be two, Wilder and Mel. That's probably it. I don't think anyone else would have considered it, not under that ownership at all. But as always, it's a roller coaster supporting Newcastle. Good times and bad. Yeah. Good times at the moment because we are in a new era, but who knows what could happen. But the one thing you always need to remember is get Spider VPN for all your internet purposes. They are the guys to go to. Never, ever forget that. But look, Chris, it's been a pleasure as always. I'm sure we'll put plenty on Newcastle over the week coming. And particularly when we have Warren Barton in the studio tomorrow. So looking forward to that.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Pleasure as always. You guys take care and speak to you all next week.
Take care, guys.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself.